Welcome, everybody. My name's Ernest Bakenie. I'm the Senior Director of Sales and Business Development for Themed Entertainment for Christie Digital. And I want to welcome everybody to the Immersive Attraction Panel, Blue Loop Festival of Innovation. And with me today, I have Mark Beumers, CEO of Lagotronics Projects, and Lawrence Mancey, Marketing and Technology Director of Paultons Park in the UK. How are you gentlemen doing today?
Yeah, well, good, thank you.
Thank you. We're fine, thank you.
Very good. You know, Mark, I'm gonna start with you. Tell me a little bit about Lagotronics and yourself, and a little bit about what brought you to the industry.
Well, obviously, I'm Mark. I'm at the moment 47 years old already. Started working at Lagotronics in 1999, and the company obviously was founded in 79 already. So when I came to the company, they existed for 20 years already. At first, I started off as a project manager, and my background is technical education. So when I came with Lagotronics, I did a lot of projects in television broadcasting, and around that time, we also made a switch to the theme park or the amusement industry, and this is where I got involved in theme parks and dark rides mainly. The first project I was a part of was in Mexico City with Six Flags, where we built a dark ride with a team of Dutch companies, and that was a great experience. And from that point on, obviously, Lagotronics started to develop all kinds of interactive technology and systems that could be used in dark rides, and this was more or less the start of it. And throughout the years, I personally grew through the company, being a leader of certain areas, and eventually general manager, CEO, and a few years ago, we even were able to take over the company with our management team, and so we did, which brought us to the current state that we are in a nutshell. So, yeah.
Very interesting. Your background with both technology and the themed industry, even before getting into the theme park industry, the storytelling and everything, certainly is showing through with the new products and the product that we'll be discussing today as well. Lawrence, nice to meet you. Tell me a little bit about your background. Tell me about Paultons Park. I grew up around regional parks, and I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. So, of course, Jogga Lake, Cedar Point, Euclid Beach Park, very familiar with the smaller parks, and really kind of the lifeblood of our industry. Makes up probably the majority of the industry. So tell me a little bit about your background and Paultons Park as well.
So, yeah, I'm Lawrence. I'm the third generation, or part of the third generation of our family running Paultons. So my grandparents opened the park in 1983. Originally, we started as a park and bird gardens, sort of nice landscape gardens and different animal exhibits. Opened our first ride in 1986, which was the Rio Grande train. And slowly but surely, as the years progressed, we started adding more and more rides and built ourselves into a full-day attraction. We knew what guests enjoyed, which was going on the rides. So no great surprise that we kept adding those into the early 2000s until, of course, we opened Peppa Pig World in 2011, which really was a massive turning point for the park and really put us on the map. And from then, we've really started to delve deeply into the themed experiences and themed entertainment. Obviously, Peppa Pig is a very, very famous IP, but we wanted to try with our own IPs as well. And from that became areas such as Lost Kingdom, our dinosaur area, Tornado Springs, which is an area based on the American Midwest, and sort of Tornado Valley and that theme, which is really fun. And we're working at the moment on another project, which is Vikings, which will be opening this year, which is a new roller coaster, a new restaurant, another UK first flat ride. So really working hard on those immersive experiences. So a very, very short history of the park. I I could tell you a lot more about our journey, but that's where we are at the moment.
Well, certainly having your family involved in it and you involved in it since probably your younger years, of course,
Yeah.
even though you're still a young man now, the passion, I'm sure, comes through in all the attractions and all the direction that you take with the park. Really interesting that you're part of the family, and it's a family park as well. Lawrence, where did the idea of Ghostly Manor begin? Why did you want to replace the park's former, I guess you had a 4D cinema theater there. Tell me a little bit about the evolution here.
Yeah, so we had a 4D cinema, which was around the early 2010s that opened. So not necessarily a particularly old ride, fairly modern. However, it was one of those experiences that was very much one and done. The guests would go in and enjoy the show, very short, maybe 10, 15-minute show, and then back out, and they wouldn't go back in there again. Some guests wouldn't use that attraction all day. It wouldn't really appeal to them, being an outdoor park in summer. Most guests would be focused on going on the roller coasters and the rides than going into always essentially, a cinema and sitting down for 15 minutes watching a screen. So we wanted to get something that was very rideable and very interactive, and that's what we think our guests really want. They want to be part of the story. You want to feel part of that journey and enjoy that from the moment you step into the queue line all the way through the exit and think, wow, I want to go on that again. I want to, because obviously we have the fantastic scoring system, and it's all about beating your friends and family and having that interaction and feeling part of the story. So Ghostly Manor was started from that nugget of we want people to be able to enjoy the ride over and over again. And of course, we had that space, the 4D cinema, because as you know, one of the most expensive parts of building a dark ride is the building around it. So having that space already available made a lot of sense. And when we saw the Lagotronics, the system, the gameplay theatre, we thought, wow, you could get quite a long experience for quite a small footprint here, which is very, very appealing to us. The theme itself is sort of a nod to the park's history, because we used to have an old manor house on the park, the Paultons estate, which is where the name comes from. So there was a big manor house here, which unfortunately burnt down in 1963. But it was nice to be able to bring that theme back a little bit in the external theming and the facade that we built as well. So there's quite a lot of different elements within the story.
So, Mark, tell me a little bit about how you and Lawrence came together on this. Did Lawrence see the? I mean, it's a fascinating theater. We've talked about it before, and I've been online looking at it again. Really unique, really interesting. We'll talk more about that. But was it the ride system that brought you and seeing it online, or did you guys meet over coffee and discuss what the plans were? How'd that happen? Tell me a little bit about that, Mark.
Well, obviously, this is not something that happened overnight. I can remember talking to Lawrence and his father and brother at an IAAPA show in Berlin many years ago already about a dark ride and other opportunities that we might have. So I think it was my colleague Michael who visited Paultons Park during the year, and then this project came to mind. And at that point, we were obviously working with Mark Wright, building the gameplay theater, or developing it more or less. And that's when the idea came up to measure the building that was available and to see if that would be a fit. So this is how it initially started off, and the result is obvious. So I think it was a great chance at that point that we came there, and this idea was in the air. So yeah, it worked out great.
Yeah, it was something we always had in the back of our mind that this was available. So when we had the space and we were looking, I think, for the 4D cinema needed its time had come. So when Michael came to visit the park, it was one of those. Yeah, this has come a long way now since we saw it in Berlin. I think it's definitely a viable option for us now.
And Lawrence, the story, because you already had kind of this manor storyline, Did the Lagotronics gameplay theater with the ghost background and everything, did that just did you look at that and say, wow, this is a perfect fit here? And then we start talking about the technology in the building. Is that how that came together?
So it was sort of the other way around, really.
Lawrence.
The most important thing was the space, and the ride would fit, and we could get our pre-show in, we could get the queue line in, how that's all going to work. And after that, we started talking about the content and the theme. And Dad had always wanted a haunted house kind of attraction. So that was settled. But obviously we wanted to put our own twist on it. And something we think was very important was that theme needed to be simple enough to be explained without a pre-show. You could walk onto it without any prior knowledge to the backstory and still enjoy the ride. So having a theme that is simple, iconic. There's a lot of history with haunted houses. People know, shooting ghosts is a fairly common gameplay sort of action. So having that in there made our lives much easier to create a story around it and a detailed theme.
It really turned out well. I mean, Ghostly Manor, I love the storyline and everything. I'm a big fan of haunted and ghosts, and I think a lot of people are. But let's talk a little bit about the technology with Mark. I mean, that's really, when you take a look of how you've utilized the space and how you could put so much of theming and set pieces and media and gameplay all in such a small space and still have throughput of, between 500 and 1,400 people, really remarkable, really innovative. Nothing else really like it in the industry today. And Mark, why don't you tell me a little bit about, what made the dark ride, unique, and the gameplay and the storytelling and how you guys integrated all of that together?
Well, obviously, it all starts off with the design first, and in this case, Leisure Expert Group was hired by Paultons Park directly to create storyline and the theming of the attraction, to design the scenes, etc. So obviously, we are working with Leisure Expert Group, with Paultons Park, with all parties together to come up with ideas, what can be done, what can be achieved within this small footprint. And obviously, the small footprint in an attraction like this is quite challenging. The ceiling surface is, funny enough, the same size as the ground area that you're using. So if you want to hang up all your technology on the ceiling, then it gets compact and a little bit complicated, especially if you want to put in a lot of decoration, video projection, mapping, animatronics, etc., to create an attraction like this, where we try to put all the effects in that were possible at all in the world today. So from that design, then obviously a technical design needs to be made, a 3D drawing needs to be made, and by adjusting and discussing all the features together, eventually we made it happen to fit all the elements in there as Leisure Expert Group envisioned them together with Paultons Park, obviously. And I think it was a great achievement. The effects were great, and the overall experience is off the charts, if you ask me, especially because of the different types of gameplay that the attraction has.
What I found really interesting about the theater is that the rotating ride system, the rotating seats, allow you to get double really the amount of scenes or story elements that you think you could have in the limited space. I mean, really innovative. I didn't realize it when I was looking at it. I go, wow, you're actually looking at the inside and the outside of the attraction as you move through. I mean, the inside walls and the inner walls, the inside and outside of the inner walls are really unique, really putting a lot of elements into, I mean, it's amazing, such a small area to get all these elements that typically, in the bigger theme parks, you would have a huge building, a huge ride system going through. So, kudos to that. It's really unique and interesting. Lawrence, how do you get people into the story of the interactive shooting and everything without it just being just a shooting range or a shooting theater that's pretty common in the industry now. How do you make sure your guests feel differently, or how do you theme it, or how do you tell the story moving into it to bring it all together and keep the guests interested in going back?
This was one of the benefits of us using our own IP. Really, we could really tailor that story, the great story that the Leisure Expert Group had created for us. Our marketing team took that and created that and really fleshed that out. Gave the main character, Dr. Kinley, a backstory and really started to delve into that story, and then we could pick out certain elements of that and drop that into the pre-shows really easily. So we run what's called a rolling pre-show. So there's no hard stop. You don't stop and wait for the show and then walk through. The video is always playing, and the reason for that is the way obviously the ride works. You only have between, I think it's about 22 seconds to dispatch the ride. So it's quite a not difficult ride to operate, but you've got to really hit those marks, because otherwise you're affecting the rest of the experience or the experience for the rest of the ride. So if you take too long to load the attraction, then everyone's sat waiting because the whole thing has to move at once into the individual scenes. So it's important that pre-show kept moving. But we really worked hard to bring people into the world of Dr. Kinley and give them a story and explain that he was in I think it was the Arctic, and all the ghosts in his manor had escaped. And then you have to go and capture the ghosts with the phantom phasers, which of course were the blasters on the gondola. So we had a couple of pre-shows, one which is more thematic, and then one just before you get onto the ride, which is almost like a security kind of video, which shows people ghost containment units have failed, and these are the blasters you have to use, and working hard to make sure that those scenes were developed alongside all the content that has been developed by Leisure Expert Group, keeps people in that immersed world. And we got some great feedback, and it's really worked, because I've seen some unbelievable scores coming out of Ghostly Manor, stuff that I could only dream of. The points people are getting in there.
One of the challenges I've seen with these types of attractions is how do you educate the guests in a fun way, so by the time that they're done with the queue line and about to get into the attraction, they know what to do. Was there any special thoughts, either one of you, about how to pull that together, so by the time you're sitting down and ready to go, you're educated and understand the technology that you're about to be working with?
I think we spent a lot of time, because it's quite a small building. There was a lot of work on the pre-shows and ensuring that, because people, from an operational point of view, it's important that people can watch how the ride operates. If you present people to the attraction blind, then it's much more difficult to efficiently load them onto the ride. So making sure that area around the loading was open, you could have maybe two groups that would see people enter the ride, how they're supposed to enter the attraction, where they're supposed to sit, when they're supposed to pick their blaster up. All that helps the throughput of the attraction. And then using those highly themed videos to really bring people into the attraction and deep into the story, so they feel immersed. And when they pick up that blaster, they know, right, I'm going to have to shoot these ghosts. And that all goes back as well to that simple story, that simple theme. When people enter the attraction, they know it's a haunted house. They know there's going to be ghosts. And then when they sit down, the first thing they see is obviously a big ghost. They start shooting it. Mark can probably talk more to the technology and some of the haptic feedback and stuff we put into those blasters.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, obviously the thing that needs to happen, I think, is a ride needs to be intuitive. When people enter, they have to immediately understand and what to do, and not learn through 2 or 3 scenes, because then obviously they lose a lot of their experience. Which did make it quite difficult in this attraction also, to be honest, because we are using different types of interactivity. We are obviously shooting on decoration, we're shooting on animatronics, projection, mapping, and also full media screens, and all of them provide a different type of feedback. This makes the attraction very interesting, very funny, very surprising, but it also gives it a little bit less intuitive gameplay. But on the other hand, it opens up the door for a lot of repeat visits, because every time you rewrite this attraction, you learn new things, you see new things are happening. So that is really the plus side of it. And it's always about finding the balance, trying to achieve something new, different types of gameplay, but still being intuitive and providing the best interactive feedback that is possible. That is the ultimate goal.
I think the way that this is set up, and with all the elements you're talking about, and repeat gameplay and repeat ridership is so important in the industry for ROI. And I think what really separates this from just a standard 4D theater is that a 4D theater, you do it once and then you're like, okay, I got that. But what brings you back into it? And I think everything that you've talked about, the set pieces, the different elements, shooting at set pieces, shooting at projection mapping, the integration of the story and all these elements together really warrant you coming back and saying, well, I didn't see it all. I got to go do it again. I have to do it again. Yeah. Which is, this is really a great feature and a great element to the attraction.
The team at Lagotronics were great at when they were in there setting the ride up and commissioning, adding little Easter eggs around the ride. And I'm convinced that we haven't found them all yet, because there were so many added in. And that's exactly right, Ernest. Having that rewriability was key to us, because we wanted it to be an attraction that is evergreen. It works in August, it works in Halloween, it works over Christmas. That theme is really strong. And people, I know people have been on it hundreds of times, to try and get the high score. And we have a scoreboard at the end of the ride, so that you can see obviously your group's score if you've just been on it. And we also have a daily high score and I think it's a yearly high score on there as well. So there's a lot of competition between our super fans who visit the park very, very often to get that high score, and that's great. We love that, people enjoying the ride over and over again.
Yeah, I think it's also a great piece of marketing that people really start to discuss online what they have seen, what they've achieved, and what Easter eggs they found, and others who haven't found them yet. So what you see is that online platforms are growing on that matter, discussing all of these elements and providing also an extra marketing tool for the park as well, obviously, since most of them want to come back and try and find them as well, or find new ones even. So yeah, that's great.
I've seen people posting guides on how to get the high score and shoot this, then shoot that, then shoot this, and it's amazing. But people love it, and giving them that opportunity to enjoy a ride that often is really rewarding, I think.
You guys bring up an interesting point. I know this is a family attraction, so it's for all, from the children all the way up to the grandparents. You could ride this attraction. How do you make the gameplay easy to learn, but not so easy where it's not challenging anymore? What kind of thought process went into that?
Well, in our case, we always try to have different layers of difficulty in a scene, being in a media scene or being in a scenery with animatronics, for example. We always try to have bigger objects in the front with lower scoring, smaller objects in the back with higher scoring, and everything in between. And that enables us to have people really compete with each other, whether they're 10 years old or 40 years old. Dad is enjoying his gameplay a lot by trying to hit this difficult target in the back, and he hits it every 10 shots, maybe he hits it once, where the smaller son is playing on the bigger items in the front, but he can continuously hit them. So in the end, the scoring they both have is more or less getting into the same ballpark. And this results in very surprising final results when people are actually going to the scoring monitor, when sometimes people expect that they are unable to win because they are bad at such attractions, learn from experience. But they are then often surprised that they are the winner because they had just had a different approach. And it shows that every age group or every person, whether experienced or not, is able to win from their party and from their family. And this is also something that lasts and keeps the memory alive. So this is also something that we try to use in every scene in all of our productions, to make sure that that everybody goes out smiling and having a great time.
I think for us it was ensuring that you couldn't fail. There's no failure state. There's no minimum score you have to get. And as people leave the ride, they shouldn't feel frustrated. It shouldn't be that you found the gun difficult to use, or you couldn't hit certain targets. As Mark said, there's different levels of difficulty within a scene. And then what happened the first time I rode it with my brother, it was obviously very competitive, and we had to run straight back around to try and beat each other's score. And that's exactly that's when we knew, we've got a fantastic attraction here, because we just want to go back on and try again. And I remember when me and you, Mark, and James and our Mark went to Paultons Park. We had a great time there, and we tried the attraction you have there, and that was the exact feeling we had. When you get off those attractions, is you want to beat, in a friendly way. Sometimes you want to beat your friends and your family, and that's what was important. And it's a very delicate balance, having that sweet spot of something that's easy to enjoy but still rewarding to come back.
It sounds like a lot of thought, a lot of education, a lot of experience over the years with Lagotronics to be able to really put it together this way, because you don't really think of the balance that you have to put into this, where everyone has a good time, no one feels left out on the attraction, and you don't feel like you're purposely playing the game differently. Everybody's in there having a good time. Really a great concept. What kind of challenges took place? I'm sure these attractions, they start off, we're going to hit it by this date, and we're going to walk through it, it's going to be all this easy, but then you get into it and it's not always. There's always challenges. Are there any challenges that stood out for either one of you where you said, whoa, we really have to overcome this, or was it just easy peasy, let's plug this in and get moving?
Well, I wouldn't say it was plug in and we're done. Definitely not. Obviously, we are always using cutting edge technology. We are always developing new types of technology, since we think that the technology provides with new features and new types of gameplay that can be used throughout an attraction like this. But this also brings challenges with it. And with the handheld device, for example, one of the biggest challenges is obviously tracking and all the data transmissions that we have to do wirelessly. Being in an environment where there's a lot of wireless communication already going on. So it's always a challenge to find the right frequencies, to program the software, to make sure everything works flawlessly together. And it takes a lot of testing, a lot of time for our programmers to be on site, to test the ride, to go through all the elements, and even change the gameplay on site after testing, because you only get to experience the attraction the first time everything comes together and it's operational, and that's really when you start to finalize everything. And in most cases, this is always the final stretch of an installation, and mostly that is a very short amount of time that is reserved for that. Luckily at Paultons Park, the approach was very different, and we loved that, since they planned well ahead, and we had months for testing and changing and changing software and gameplay, etc. And I think that also shows in the result of the attraction. That's why it's so much fun, and that's why everybody loves it.
Yeah, having the many layers of the attraction, I mean, it certainly creates an environment that you want to go back to and do it over and over. The thought process and the gamification, where everybody is challenged, but not challenged to the point where it's too difficult. The fun goes away, right? All of these elements that you put in place, along with the IP, with the ghostly manor and everything, really, I think it's really turned out to be a special type of attraction. Any future plans working together, you two in the park? Are there other areas that you're targeting where you could use this type of technology, or maybe a slightly different type of technology? What does the future look like?
For us at the moment, we're on our current project. So there's nothing in there that's as immersive, or we know there's no dark ride experience in our latest project, but it's something that we've seen our guests absolutely love, and it's obviously had rave reviews, won multiple awards over the past year, which we're really, really proud of. And I think it's definitely something that, in the future, we'd look to do something similar. It's obviously been a great success.
So Mark, this ride system, this whole gameplay theater that you put together, really unique, really special. Many of the smaller parks, or even the larger parks, I mean, you're talking about up to 1,400 people an hour. I mean, this is any major theme park could use this type of technology. Is there anything that you could tell that you want to tell the smaller parks that they could learn from having this type of attraction, or rather than having the new coaster? Is there anything special that you want to tell the smaller parks that the reason they should move in this direction, or at least incorporate this into their ride offerings?
I think most of all, the biggest advice is that a dark ride is a good investment. It shows clearly. People love it. It's very popular. People and especially youngsters obviously are used to playing games at home, online, to provide them with another type of gameplay, a different type of gameplay, but still in a digital environment in a park, is something they really love. And that is something that a park should definitely consider. I know in the past it was difficult to market a dark ride for parks, since it was always in a building. It was not a visible attraction like a roller coaster that really stands out with a big facade. But nowadays, using existing or self-made IPs with marketing online, I think it works like a charm. And another thing, obviously, is that the game changer or the gameplay theater that we have developed, obviously, are much smaller attractions than a regular dark ride. They are also more affordable. It needs less space. It can be installed in an existing building, and therefore also makes it more interesting regarding the budget. So yes, I think that all of these elements are certainly an option for parks to consider a ride like this. And obviously, if they're interested, then we are very happy to hear from them and discuss this further.
So could you take pretty much any IP, and then if someone came to you and said, "I have an IP that's special to our park, will you build us an attraction?" How does that work? Do you have a internal creative team? Do you work with their creative team? What would that process look like?
We are technology driven, so we are not really a design company. But obviously, when we visit a park and they have a certain idea or request, we are definitely thinking along with them, trying to find a way of making an interactive dark ride interesting for them within their IP. We find it always very important that the interactivity needs to be well aligned. And what I'm trying to say with that is that if you have a certain IP in your park or a certain storyline you want to tell, you obviously need to have an interactive tool within that storyline that you can use for interactivity. You need to have some type of achievement that you have to achieve within that IP, and this needs to be in line. We always try to bring interactivity that gives a real interactive feedback. We are not trying to create colored crosshairs on a screen and providing a number in the end. We are trying to achieve that people can, if they have a device in their hand and they operate it, they feel it, they can see their projectile or whatever they are playing with, flying into the scenery or into the screen. They see what they hit or what they achieve. They see what happens to it afterwards. So it needs to be a true, proper interactive feedback, in our opinion. And that is what we always try to do. So I think that is an important aspect.
Lawrence, speaking of IPs, Peppa Pig's a big IP at the park, I understand. Any future thoughts of maybe a Peppa Pig dark ride? Any space for it?
Never say never. Obviously, it'd be very popular, I'm sure. No immediate plans at the moment. I'm very focused on our other projects at the moment. And obviously, Peppa is already a fantastic and very popular area. So it's always important when we're putting things in that we are increasing the value of the whole park and attracting a different demographic and making sure our current guests are enjoying a new experience as well.
What do you think is the future of attractions, let's say? The dark rides, clearly what we're seeing at Christie is the integration between live action, set pieces, media, all blended together. I think that since our patrons are so sophisticated these days and they're growing up with games and everything else, that you can't just rely on one technology. You have to blend these things together to really, we always talk about immersive environments, but really this gameplay theater at Ghostly Manor is, it's really, there's so many elements that are packed into this attraction that it really, you could go back over and over and over and not see it all in such a small footprint, which really is exciting to me because throughout, I've been in the industry since 1996 and there's been a lot of good attractions. The question is, do people keep coming back to them? And I think the way that you've developed this theater at Paultons Park, especially, and the IP and the whole thought behind it is something that people will continue to want to go on year after year after year and still enjoy it and not see all the elements. It's not just one pass, so I've seen it all, I'm not coming back. What do you see as a future? Is there anything that you see on the horizon that hasn't been really talked about? I don't know how much you want to say, from a competitive standpoint in the industry, but is there anything that stands out, or your thoughts on where we're going with the dark rides, or where we're going in the industry with these attractions?
I think there is such thing as a winning formula, and dark rides have got to be fun. I think we did a great job at integrating those physical sets and those screens. I think that is something that will become more and more important. I think having a ride that is too screen heavy it breaks that immersion. We were lucky to partner with a fantastic team of people from Themix in the Philippines, and they created some beautiful sets for those internal scenes. I think going forward, dark rides might look to be more modular. It might be much easier to update the content. Perhaps things such as if you get a certain score, things change through the ride, and you get a different journey depending on what happens and how that you get a really different experience every time you ride it because you don't know what's going to happen next. And there's certain rides that are already doing that, but bringing those budgets down and being able to talk to smaller parks about that is quite exciting, I think. And technology obviously evolves so quickly. Who knows what's going to be happening in the next 5-10 years? How things like AI will impact things, and how it will become easier to generate this content and get a world-class dark ride. And it would be far more difficult 20-30 years ago when you look at the dark rides that are around then. So it's very difficult to look into the future and see what's coming next, but I'm sure whatever it is, it's going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, definitely.
Mark probably knows what's coming next already.
Well, some things we know, some things we obviously don't. I think in general, immersion is obviously the key word, and what we need to do, or what we are doing, is trying to constantly have new and better technology to immerse people and to immerse them even further. What you see nowadays is a lot of LED screens, projection mapping, multiple layers of video technology behind each other to create depth, etc. You see trackless vehicles who are able to use different paths along the ride. So these are things that are already existing. There is a lot of speculation of, obviously, for artificial intelligence and augmented reality, but obviously both also need to be operable. If you have augmented reality and you need to wear these glasses, for example, that always is a difficult operating procedure for any operator. If I look to ourselves, I think the technology we have developed right now is also something that enables certain elements for the future. Since with our technology, we always use a virtual 3D environment where all the players are involved in. And this enables us to change the attraction or to change the targets or to change the show sets throughout a ride. Not every ride has to be the same. If you ride today, it could be a different attraction compared to if you ride tomorrow. Because all of the elements in our technology are software based, we can pre-program them in different ways and start them in different ways in different days. So this enables also a lot of extra features that hasn't been done before, I guess. And I think that's also a very interesting topic for the future.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. I mean, if you could change up, especially from probably a cost standpoint, if you just change programming, right, to and change some of the focus and the elements, that's always helpful, because it's really it's wanting to go back to the attraction over and over, and not making it feel stale. And I think you've certainly achieved this with the gameplay theater, and I'm sure with the ghost background and all those elements that I've seen in this attraction, Paultons Manor is going to do very well with this attraction for many years. People will keep coming back to it. It's interesting for me. Back in the 90s, everyone started talking about the augmented reality or not the virtual reality, right? And what really attracts me to this attraction that you guys have built here is that you enjoy this with the other people around you, with the family around you. You're not isolated into your own program, and I think that really goes a long way, because part of the fun, when I think back of, like I said, Cedar Point and Jogga Lake and all these regional parks that I grew up with, the experiences are with your friends and family, and how they enjoyed the attraction. And I think that you guys really nailed it here, where you've got a great family attraction with many different elements that will, over time, stand the test of time, where you'll want to just keep coming back and doing it over and over. Kudos, and really a super job on both your parts with this. And I'm interested to see what's coming next from both in the Paultons Park and it's certainly from Lagotronics. Very creative, what you've done here. How, just real quickly, how did this even come to mind? Was it driven by space, or how did you think up this overall concept?
The idea started about 10 years ago with the Game Changer, obviously as a rotating ride, but that was only using the outer walls as projection screens. And during our early conversations with mock rides, they came up with the idea of the rotating platform, the rotating seats or the vehicles, more or less, and using the inner part of the ride as well. And although we had already described that in our initial patent documentation that we have for the Game Changer, it was really mock rides who came up with it, because obviously, since we are not a ride manufacturer, we are unable to create such a complex ride system. So together with Mock Rides, the ball started rolling, and we quickly came to the idea of the gameplay theater, where they played the biggest part, obviously, in making it happen, and also working out the different exit and entry areas, and how the seats or the vehicles need to evolve or rotate from one scene to another to make it all happen within that small space. So I think it was a great idea. It was a natural evolvement of the rotating platform we already had, but still to use that inner space is just clearly it's how do you say it, a positive effect or a great hit, to be honest.
Very good, guys. I just want to say one final thing is as you move forward here, do you see the industry changing in any significant way that we should be aware of? I mean, theme parks, and I love this industry. I've been in it for almost over 40 years. And I'm sure you guys have spent a lot of time, as we discussed at the beginning, family and everything else. Do you see anything coming down the path in the industry that it would really shake things up, or are we still going to move forward with the hard rides, dark rides, and just wondering what your perspective is on that? What's the future?
I think the theme park experience in itself is
putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I think it's fairly static. I mean, people want to enjoy time with their family. That is the essence of going out anywhere, whether it's a theme park or it's a museum or it's a cinema or anywhere really. You're going out to spend time with your family and create memories, and that becomes more and more challenging as more and more technology is around, and kids enjoy the time on screens, and parents want to get them away from screens. So it was something that we were keen to be cautious of when we were designing this ride, that we weren't just throwing kids back in front of screens again and creating an immersive story around them that they can enjoy with their family. I think that's the essence of where technology plays a role, is the guest experience first, and what are they going to enjoy, and how can technology enhance or improve that. So from my point of view, it's still very much families, parents enjoying time with their children and creating memories, and how can we facilitate that, essentially. I think that's the essence of attractions and theme parks in general. And personally, I can't see that changing too much in the future, but what do I know? You never know, it may.
Totally agree. The goal will always be the same. So there will definitely be different opportunities to make that goal happen, but the goal will always remain the same.
All right, guys, I just want to say, congratulations on such an amazing, successful attraction, and I think you guys really nailed it here. Really beautiful attraction, and I'm sure it's going to enhance Paultons Park as well, and have more visitors just to come and check it out. I want to thank you for your time today. Really interesting conversation. I just want to say to everybody watching, the winners of the Immersive Attraction Category Awards will be announced next. So please stay tuned. Thank you guys for your time. Look forward to visiting the park. And Mark, I'll see you at IAAPA for sure, and some of the other trade shows around town. And really a super job, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having us.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
And now for the winners of the Blue Loop Innovation Awards 2025 Immersive Attraction category. Third place, Kart Clash from RPM Raceway. Second place, Walt Disney A Magical Life Audio Animatronic from Walt Disney Imagineering. And first place, Ghostly Manor at Paultons Park from Lagotronics Projects. Congratulations to all of the winners.